I think he's showing everybody what he hadn't shown us in the past. You know, he's been injury plagued. The last couple springs has always been something, and you know, him fighting through the injuries, got a cast on his hand, has refused to miss reps. He's catching the ball with one hand, he's blocking with one hand. I mean, those are the things that are helping us as an offense. So, you know, I think he's earning the respect from his teammates, and he's also showing a guy like Jalen Hurts, the younger guys, that at this position you got to be able to play through some pain. So, you know, having him here with his senior leadership is definitely paying off for us.
When did you start to notice the difference in terms of just him growing up? Was it during the summer? Was it after the season? Was it this spring? Or when did you kind of start to see a change?
Late in the year. You know, late in the year, I think, you know, with him missing a lot of reps, Rajon got more reps, and I think Rajon's success and the way Rajon finished, I think as soon as Rajon left after the Kentucky game, you can see a change in Marlind. You know, came to me, we sat down, talked about the things he needs to improve on, and you know, man, he bought the hook. You know, he bit it and took off with it. So, you know, as soon as the season was over with, Marlin's done a really good job of just stepping in and being the senior leader.
What were the things you told him about that he needed to improve? I know he's kind of a little bigger now. Is that?
Yeah. Well, that was the first thing. Him understanding what kind of back he is and understanding what he was going to have to do to stay healthy and be able to have a productive senior year. And the first thing was gaining some weight, and he's done a really good job, putting on about 10 pounds, and that's allowing him to be a more effective running back. That's allowing him to break tackles, and like I said, it's just a mindset. I think when a running back adds a little bit more muscle, a little bit more weight, it allows him to walk around with a little more confidence. So those are the things I think he's taken a hold to, and he's doing a good job so far.
Coach, what do you want Jalen to do? You mentioned weight with Marlind. Do you want him to add weight? I mean, he's really tall, but do you want him to add more weight?
It'll come naturally. I mean, he has such a big frame, and he burns a lot of energy at practice. You know, we have the heart monitors, and he burns the most calories out of anyone at practice. So at first he was wondering why does he have such a hard time gaining weight, but he's burning a lot of energy moving that body around. So, you know, he's about 220, 225 right now. So that's a really good weight for him. You know, the thing is it's going to be fun for Coach Lawson and those guys to see how much weight he can put on. But, you know, the main things for him is just getting in football shape, knowing where to line up, how to play at our tempo, and everything else. He has a natural ability that you can't coach.
Coach, do you have to, technique-wise, you try to do anything different with him just because he's so tall, and maybe you try to work on doing this?
No, you know, I think he has to work on the same things that every back works on. You know, we have a part of practice where we run underneath the arches, and the guy that hits the arches the most is Devin Young. You know, so I think he has the same problems that any back has. You know, a great running back is able to play low and with great pad level. But it doesn't matter if you're 6'3" or 5'7". You know, all those guys have to work on that fundamental. So that's one thing that he's continuing to work on. Obviously, pass protection for a guy that's going to come in and play as much as he is as a freshman. Has to continue to work on those things. But, man, he's a competitive kid. He hates to make mistakes, and very smart. So the missed assignments is one thing I'm pleased with. He doesn't have a lot of missed assignments. He just continues to work on the fundamentals of being a running back.
And I know you saw him before he got here, but just seeing him in pads every day, is it surprising to see a kid that size be that fluid?
You know, I'll tell you what, I'm not as surprised when I'm standing there talking to him, because I feel like I'm 7 foot tall when I'm out there coaching. But I've seen a couple pictures from you guys that make me realize how big of a kid he is. You know, he's a big kid, and you know, just the sky's the limit for him if he reaches down deep and finds that passion. I told him the other day, I said, right now you're just playing off God-given ability. Once you find out how to dig down deep and you grow into a man and play this game the right way in this league, you know, the sky's the limit for what kind of football player he can be.
With that said, I know it's only been, 12 practices or so, but what kind of growth have you seen from him from day one to today?
He's a tough kid, and he's very competitive. He hates to make mistakes. He's not afraid to jump in and go with the ones, which are things that you don't know until a kid gets here. You know, so I've seen that just maturation of him just wanting to get in there and make the mistakes. You know, I've told him, you know, I don't mind you making mistakes. That's how you learn. So, you know, just the fact that he's not afraid to jump in with the older guys. He takes coaching really well. He takes his teammates, grabbing them and pulling them along at times. He doesn't fight the system. You know, he's a willing learner. So that's one thing that you don't know until you get a chance to get here and coach him.
How does he do it in the agility drills, since he is taller and you would think he might struggle with that a little bit?
I mean, Jalen from day one, when we tested during the summertime, he had the second fastest short shuttle at 6'3", 220. That kind of answers your question. He's a kid that's very flexible. He can move. He's got great bend. So he's one of the most athletic guys on the football team.
What styles of those guys? How can they complement one another? It seems they're kind of different styles. Jalen, Marlind, and Devin as well.
That's what you want, man. I mean, I never want a room full of guys that are just the same guy. You know, you want guys that can. You want a room full of guys that can find a niche. I think if you got a room full of guys that are the same, you know, they kind of question, well, why am I here? And even when I recruit a back, I want guys that are different every year, so that way we can find different things that this guy can do. There's a role for this guy. So I think the fact that all those guys know that they're different and they kind of complement the system at different times, they go in and work hard every day. So I like the diversity that we have in the room.
What have you noticed from Marlind this spring? Because it seems like he has a renewed focus, and he seems to be really dialed in on being a contributor this fall.
He knows that his time here is almost coming to an end. I had a conversation with Marlon, and I told him, I said, look up at those rafters. 2007, that's the last banner that we put up here. I said, one day you're going to have to bring your kids back here, and they're going to ask when you played, and you're going to point up there, are you going to leave a legacy? Are you going to leave a mark here? And I think those are the conversations that we've had, that he understands right now my time's coming to an end. I want to be a guy that when I leave here, people miss me when I come back in the building. So I think those conversations, and it's just something that snaps in every person. I think the light at the end of the tunnel, they start to see it, then they want to come in and they want to be a leader. So he's done a great job. I'm pleased with him on the field, but I'm even more pleased with the way he is off the field as a leader for the group.
If you've been around a running back as either a player or assistant coach that was built similarly to Jalen, that kind of tall, rangy back?
The only guy I've had that's been that tall, I coached at another school. I had a guy named Corey Boyd, who was a bigger guy. He was 6'1", 6'2". Had the same deal. He was very, very physical. Caught the ball out of the backfield well. He still had to learn how to bend and get in great body position, but that's probably the biggest guy I had, but probably one of the toughest guys I've ever coached too.
He had some, as I recall, didn't he have injury issues?
Well, he had a hand, broke a hand, had some ankle injuries, typical stuff that backs have, but I don't think it was anything based on his size that put him in those situations. But again, those are the things that we constantly have to talk about with Jalen. He should still be in high school now. And the fact that he's coming in and he's playing so well, it's a pleasant surprise for us, but it's also allowed him to see the deficiencies, the things he has to continue to work on, because he hadn't played football in a year. So he has a lot of improvement, a lot of things that we can go into this offseason and be able to watch on film, and he'll get better at.
You probably didn't have time to watch the basketball tournament any, but those Harrison twins at Kentucky, the guards,
I saw those.
One of them was a running back in high school. The assistant coach told him he was too tall to be a running back, and so he quit, and his brother quit too. So real good coaching.
Well, he needs to thank his coaches, because he's going to make a lot of money playing basketball. Luckily, Jalen doesn't have a crossover, so he's going to be playing football.
Would you tell would you look at a kid, if you got a 6'4", 6'5" kid, if he came out here, would you say, son, you're too tall to be a running back, you think?
Well, you know what? I think it all depends on the kid. Jalen was a kid that you could see on tape. He was able to go from being 6'3" and drop his body down to being 5'11", 6 foot. He had natural bend. And even now, like I said, for a kid to have the second fastest short shuttle on our team, which is a way we evaluate bend, that says a lot about a kid that tall. So he has natural bend. He has to continue to get strength to work on that. But, I think it's all based on the kid, whether he can play the position or not. Heck, Peppers played in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. He was a running back in high school. When we came out the same year. He was a tailback in high school, yeah. And obviously he went to college and they found his best position, and he's a Pro Bowler and a legend. But I think it all is based upon the kids. But I tell you what, that's a great problem to have, when you got a guy that big where he can play safety, linebacker, defensive end. He can play it all. So, he just has something natural, God-given, that we're fortunate to have him on our team.